Hi, this is a quick video showing how to install the ionCube loader and resolve a message such as this when trying to run a PHP file. If you've full access to the web server via SSH and knowledge of the PHP environment, and in this case I know that my server is Linux 64-bit and using PHP 7.2, then installing can be really easy and takes around 60 seconds. I'll run through the process quickly first of all and then go into more detail on the various steps after that. So the first thing is to go to here, it's Linux 64-bit. I'm going to scroll down, copy a link to the archive. I'm now going to SSH into my server. I like to install in user local, so we'll go there, wget the archive, unpack the archive, use this trick to get full paths to the files inside the directory. PHP 7.2, so that's the loader we need. Edit the php.ini file, insert a line here, save the file, restart the PHP FPM environment, and there our file works. Okay, so that shows installing the loader, how quick and easy it can be. What I'm going to do now is go through the steps again, giving a bit more detail about each one and showing how you can find the bits of information that you need to be able to do the installation and to get the correct loader and so on. There are actually 4 things that you do need to know. You need to know what the operating system is, what the version of PHP is that you're using on the server, whether the server is using 32 or 64-bit operating system, and also where the php.ini file is located, which is the configuration file for PHP. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go back onto our server. Now all of the information you need you can get from what's called a Php Info Page. And a Php Info Page is simply a PHP script that calls a function in PHP that produces information about the PHP installation. I actually like to use Emacs, so I'm going to use Emacs in this case. Create the file. It doesn't matter what the file is called, but it's conventional to call it phpinfo.php. So here is our little script that's going to call the PHP info function. And if we go back to our web page, and now go to the server and access the web page. Here's the information about the server that the script has produced. Now from this, what can we see? We can see that the PHP version is 7.2.24. From the point of view of installing the loader, we just need the major and minor version, not the revision. So it's PHP 7.2. The server is Linux and it's a 64-bit server. This is what the x86-64 indicates. If it was 32-bit, it would say something like i386 or i686. These days, it's almost guaranteed that the server will be 64-bit, unless you've gone out of your way to create a 32-bit one. We can also see that the server is using PHP FPM. That will give us a clue as to how we need to restart the server. But most importantly, we know where the PHP file is located. So with PHP, there can be more than one. The main PHP file or any file is this one here in etc, and there's another directory which has a set of several other PHP ini files. We could create one for installing the ionCube loader in here, but I'm actually again going to edit the main php.ini file. So we know the PHP version, we know it's Linux, we know that it's 64-bit, and we know which ini file we're going to edit to add the entry for the loader. So if we go back to our page that has the message, we've got this link to the loaders page on ioncube.com. So if we go over to there again, what we do have here is also a script called the loader wizard, which gives you instructions on how to install the loader, and that can be a great choice if you're really not sure. But going through the steps that we just did will give you the same information and might actually be a little bit easier in the long run. So if we scroll down now to the loaders, we can see we have loaders for Linux, but also on the ARM platform we have various ones for Windows. built with different versions of the Visual Studio compiler, onto FreeBSD and so on. But we're interested in Linux, so we go to here. Again, we copy a link to the package. Now I tend to install loaders in user local. Really, where you put them is up to you, but user local is not a bad place. I'm using the wget program again to download the archive. So unpack the archive, and this has created a directory called ionCube. So if we go into there, and then we can see that we have loaders for the different versions of PHP. The _TS is for PHP if it's so-called thread safe, if it uses threads. That's pretty uncommon on Linux, and it's almost guaranteed that it will be the non-thread safe version. But if the PHP info did say that it was thread safe, you would actually use the _TS file. So it's the 7.2 file that we need, as we're using PHP 7.2. Once again, I'm going to do this little trick to get the full path to the files. It just makes it a little bit easier. And it was the one for PHP 7.2. This isn't sorted. If you did actually want it sorted, you could always pipe this into sort, and that would make it a bit easier. There we go. So again, I'm going to use Emacs this time. Middle click to paste in the string, and there we go. So I said it was PHP FPM. That's what was shown in the PHP ini, or the PHP info rather. If we do a PS to look at the processes, here are the web server processes, and again here are the ones for PHP. So again, this is another clue that it's PHP FPM. How you restart PHP or the web server varies from system to system, but very often it's using the service command. With PHP FPM, you don't actually need to restart the web server processes itself. You're restarting the PHP FPM pool, and so that was service PHP FPM restart. If we take a note of the process IDs here, you can see that the master one is 7444, and then they go on after that. If we restart and check the process IDs again, you'll see that they've changed because the processes have been stopped and recreated. And so you can see they're the same. The web server ones was 6840, and if we look back up here, that was the same. So they haven't restarted, but the PHP ones, which is what matters, have been restarted. And then once again, if we go back to our PHP script, if I click back, actually that was the wrong window, and hit refresh, there we go, the script's working. So just to recap, you need to know what the PHP operating system, or what the operating system is, what the version of PHP is, whether it's 32 or 64-bit operating system, and also where the php.ini file is. You need to download the relevant loader package from the ionCube website, unpack the loaders somewhere, edit the php.ini file to the correct path to the loader, restart the web server software or restart the PHP environment, and then things should be working. If not, and you get stuck, then we can always help at ioncube.com by going to our support help desk, which is support.ioncube.com.